you think the first part of this year, despite being bullish for the whole year, could be a little bit skimpy in terms of return.
Bitcoin drops under 39,000 as the ETF debut continues to be a sell the news event.
Yes, Brian.
BTC was down nearly 5% in the last 24 hours, reaching its lowest level in 2 months.
You were Mr. Bull last year. You were right on the mark about everything, and now you're a little more cautious.
Now, traditional markets, like both the NASDAQ and S&P, continue to push all-time highs. Yet there is growing fears with the Fed, as well as jobs, manufacturing, PMI.
I'm still optimistic for the year, but in the first half, and we got a glimpse of that today with Fed governors talking about not sure how many cuts they want to do. That's going to make markets nervous. And we got a pretty lousy Empire survey reading today, a regional PMI, and that's going to get people worried about a soft landing or hard landing. Those don't get answered for the next 6 months. So I think it's possible that we make a minor new high before the end of the month, and then we might have something like a 7% drawdown.
And how that affects you as a crypto holder, because here's a chart of the average Bitcoin ETF. This is specifically Valkyrie's Bitcoin fund. Looks like a Binance Launchpad coin, little joke. Gotta show the traditional market how we do things over here in crypto. And as we get into who's really dumping prices, who's actively selling Bitcoin today, just understand if we look at inflation.
I think the thing with inflation that is worth noting is that a couple of things are true at the same time, which I think is interesting.
While yes, the rate of increasing inflation is coming down,
inflation has cooled. We're going through the last kind of like throes of some of the random variables still being a little sticky, but the broad trend is down.
Inflation's not coming down, it's just the rate of increase, while more companies report layoffs.
Tencent's Riot Games is the latest tech company to announce layoffs. The gaming company is saying it will cut 11% of its staff, or about 530 jobs.
And while unemployment is slowly increasing.
We've now started to see folks come back from the new year and start to affect some pretty big layoffs, and they're across industries. Right? Citibank today just announced 20,000 layoffs. That's a huge amount of people that are going to lose their jobs. So what does all of this mean? It's that I think that people expect that as inflation contracts, the money supply will expand, but demand has yet to reset properly. So that's the last thing. And I think Freeberg's mentioned this a bunch. Consumer spending has always been crazy, people living on credit, all of this stuff. That is now finally, I think, the last thing that has to get sorted out. So in the absence of demand, back to the way you started, Jason, companies will cut expenses in order to maintain profitability because they don't really want to cut prices unless their product really sucks.
So now understanding macro, and by the way, click the like button to support me, lets me know you're getting value out of today's video. But wow, SBF just crashed Bitcoin again, meaning FTX, through their bankruptcy, is actively selling. Hypothesis was confirmed. FTX sold 22 million shares worth $900 million of Grayscale's Bitcoin ETF. FTX had 22.3 million GBTC, so they sold almost all, valued at around $600 million at the end of last year. Good for FTX creditors, but bad for short-term BTC price and GBTC. Good for those that buy dips and value their wealth in Bitcoin. Even though this is so normal in crypto terms, it's always been 5 steps forward, 2 steps back. BlackRock's head of product explains the success.
The iShares Bitcoin Trust, what we like to refer to as IBIT, has traded more than $3.5 billion since its launch just a little over a week ago. We've brought in more than $1.6 billion in flows. We're the #1 issuer, new issuer, both in terms of volume as well as flows.
i.e., always a buying opportunity if you think long term.
What we have seen is young people specifically are putting their capital into this sector. This sector has outperformed drastically. Even with the recent pull down, Bitcoin is still up like 75% or something. And so I think that investors who want to have outperformance, they're going to have to allocate to this sector. And the ones that continue to fight it, they're just going to get left behind.
And let's be real, we are early.
Do you think Bitcoin is a suitable investment?
I've never been, I've never really understood the value of Bitcoin as a form of stored value.
Even the Morgan Stanley chairman still has questions.
Listen, Bitcoin's not going away. It's not a fad. I just don't think it's a core investment. I think it's a speculative asset of which there are plenty of choices.
But it's just cool to see the innovation happening in this space. This is the exclusive Killer Whales Extended Season 1 trailer.
Almost feel like you've got one foot in the coffin and the other one on a banana peel.
How are you going to compete with the big boys?
This season on the all-new Killer Whales.
I really hope you check it out. Support me, support my brother. We're judges and producers on this. Let's watch this whole thing, and then I'll tell you when this airs.
These crypto entrepreneurs from far and wide
pitch to me in 60 seconds or less.
Come to pitch their projects to some of the industry's biggest names in hopes they'll pitch the next big crypto project.
You gotta relax, man. Roll the shoulders, loosen up. There it is, we're there.
Walk me through exactly how it works.
If the whales take the bait, they'll give the project a swim vote.
Even a child can create these worlds. So it's a swim for me.
Whoa! Congratulations.
But if their project fails to whet their appetite, they'll sink it to the bottom.
I just think the project is really bad.
You just love being the villain, don't you?
You kind of creep me out, so for me it's a sink.
Watch to see who will swim to victory.
It's not a crypto business.
I'm your only hope right now.
And who will be deep sixed to the seabed floor.
I see lots of potential in you.
Frank, I'm going to disagree with Gracie. If we fail, the world is fucked.
I think it's time to sink or swim.
This is Killer Whales.
It's 2 yeses, 2 no's, and the vote is down to Wendy, who didn't understand this.
Pre-order now at hello.one.
Now this premieres February 8th for the crypto audience on Hello TV's streaming network, and then on March 14th, full mainstream release.
Is Tether the stablecoin of the future?
And crypto's only getting bigger. I loved this perspective about Tether, who is now the 16th largest holder of US Treasuries.
So one of the interesting things about Tether and USDC was rising in adoption, but it's a regulated stablecoin in the United States. And so actually people internationally don't like that. That is a turnoff to them, is that there's now a coin that the United States government has a lot of oversight in. And so Tether has continued to see adoption go up. They are the 16th largest holder of US Treasuries. At this point, they are an essential part of the American financial economy.
So what does that mean for Circle then as it looks to IPO? Would you be a buyer in IPO stuff?
I think Circle's an amazing business, and especially with high interest rates, they're going to continue to do very, very well. I think, again, I'm an American sitting on American soil, right? I look at these things very differently than maybe somebody does internationally. But again, we cannot discount. If you're the 16th largest buyer of US Treasuries at the same time that China, Japan, et cetera, is all buying Treasuries less, these things are going to become a very, very important part. And then also Tether, I mean, if you look at their numbers, right, it's one of the most profitable businesses on a revenue to employee basis in the world. And so instead of attacking these types of businesses, we should be looking at it and saying, how do we create more of these businesses? But next time, let's not let it happen outside the United States. Let's make sure that it's based here in the United States.
And big piece of breaking news, did Immutable, major gaming coin ecosystem, L2, did they just add their logo to the crypto hashtag? So big piece of branding, marketing. I'll keep you updated. Like always, see you tomorrow.